Hello and good morning, dear students. Now we are moving to next point of chapter number 4. The point is D'Alembert's principle of virtual work. So before studying D'Alembert's principle, first of all, we are going to study principle of virtual work. So again, D'Alembert's principle or the Lagrangian and Hamiltonian formulation is derived from D'Alembert's principles. So that's why this D'Alembert principle is very important. First of all, we are going to study what is mean by virtual work. So virtual work is the work done or work which takes place with no passage of time. So work takes place with no passage of time. Okay, what does it mean? It means work done or displacement of a particle takes place with assuming delta t is equal to 0. So where delta t is infinitesimal increment in time. So if we take delta t is equal to 0 and if we take work done, so such work done is known as virtual work. Okay, so this is the definition of virtual work, or this virtual work is consistent with constraint forces. So why we call this this is consistent with constraint force? Because if we apply displacement such that that displacement is perpendicular to constraint force, then work done is dot product of force and displacement. For such case, this virtual work done becomes 0. Okay, now since this is virtual means it is not real work done. Okay, and we know that actually to perform work done delta t must not be 0. Okay, so any work done or any displacement does not takes place by assuming delta t is equal to 0. There is certain we can say finite time limit for displacement. Okay, now for this case if we take virtual work, so that's why we are calling this as virtual work. Okay, because this is not actual work done takes place. Now after this we are in a position to discuss principle of virtual work. Suppose we have a system of n particles. Okay, so for that system which is in static equilibrium, for static equilibrium we know that forces total force on ith particle is equal to 0. Now for this system if we choose any ith particle out of these n particles, if that is in static equilibrium, then total force on that ith particle is 0. Okay, or in vector notation you can write this as. Now for virtual displacement, delta Ri, okay, work done is dw. So dw is equal to fi total dotted with delta Ri. Okay, now if you take total work done, so total work done for whole system is summation over I running from 1 to n, because we have capital N number of particles. Now this is the equation for work done for ith particle. If you add all the work done, so that will add up to, we can say, Fi total dotted with delta Ri. Now here in this equation, if you take Fi total, which is total force acting on ith particle, as Fi, which is actual force plus constraint force, assuming Fi is constraint force. Okay, So to perform work done, we know that total force is the addition of actual force first plus constant force. How? Suppose if you take example of a block which is situated on the table. Now if that block is at rest, then we can say gravitational force is downwards and normal reaction is upward. So this gravitational force is equal to normal reaction. So this normal reaction is the constraint force, and mg, that is the actual force. So likewise, if you do same calculations for any object which is in static equilibrium. Static equilibrium means what? That object is stationary, that object is not moving, or that object is at rest. So for such case we can write Fi total is equal to Fi plus Fi, small fi. So small fi is the constraint force. Now here, if you take total work done, W is equal to now summation over I running from 1 to n. Now Fi total can be written as Fi, okay, plus Fi, okay, dotted with delta Ri. So here Fi is the actual force, this force is the constraint force. Now if you simplify this equation, what we will get? W is equal to summation over I, okay, Fi dotted with delta Ri plus summation over I Fi dotted with delta Ri. Now as I told you, we are choosing virtual displacement in such a way that this virtual displacement is perpendicular to constraint force. Means what? If you take example of this object, okay, now this is gravitational force, this is normal reaction, and if virtual displacement is like this, then our constraint force is normal reaction. If displacement is like this, okay, then this displacement is perpendicular to normal reaction. In that case we can say work done by normal reaction, which is constraint force, is equal to 0, because here we are taking dot product of these two, and dot product is magnitude of this multiplied by cos of angle between these two. So here angle between these two is 90 degree and cos of 90 is 0. That's why this constraint force does not do any work. Now if virtual displacement is consistent, we can say word consistent. If f is consistent with virtual displacement, then then work done is equal to summation over I Fi dotted with delta Ri, okay. Now this is equal to 0, since Fi is the total force. And now here this is known as principle of virtual work, okay. So statement of principle of virtual work is that virtual displacement or force, external force dot product of force and virtual displacement is equal to 0, okay. So for a system, dot product of force and virtual displacement is equal to 0, or work done by virtual displacement is 0, or work done is consistent with virtual displacement. So this is the statement of principle of virtual work, okay. Now we are moving to next point, which is D'Alembert principle. So here D'Alembert principle of virtual work is that, as I told you, we have taken principle of virtual work for static equilibrium. Now if particle is in dynamic equilibrium, or we can say if particle is dynamic means that particle is moving, then from Newton's second law of motion, we can say force on ith particle is dot product of is derivative of momentum. So Fi is derivative of Pi with respect to time. So that is equal to now Pi dot. Now you can take that Pi on the left hand side. So we can write Fi minus Pi dot is equal to 0. Now since particle is in motion, we can say if we replace this force by Fi minus Pi dot, so that is equal to 0. So this is like this. This is what particle is in static equilibrium. So this is the situation which exactly same as particle is in dynamic equilibrium or static equilibrium. So here Pi dot is known as kinetic reaction. Okay. Now using in principle of virtual work, so using in principle of virtual work, we can write summation over I. Instead of Fi, we can write Fi minus Pi dot, okay, dotted with delta Ri is equal to 0. Okay. So this is the D'Alembert's principle. So statement of D'Alembert's principle is what? So again, dot product of virtual displacement and sum and difference, okay, of force and kinetic reaction is equal to 0, or work done by sum of difference of force and kinetic reaction dotted with virtual displacement is equal to 0. So that is the statement of principle of virtual work. So by using principle of virtual work, we can derive Lagrange's equation of motion. So our next point is Lagrange's equation of motion. So Lagrange's equation of motion from D'Alembert's principle. So I am going to write it down directly without taking derivation. Okay. So Lagrange's equation of motion from D'Alembert's equation of motion. So here Lagrangian L is defined as T minus V, where T is kinetic energy of a system, V is potential energy of a system. And Lagrange's equation is d by dt of da by L by da by Qj dot minus da by L by da by Qj is equal to 0. So this is the Lagrange's equation. Okay. Now here Qj is generalized coordinate. Okay. And we can say Qj dot is the generalized velocity. Okay. This is not a charge that we use in electrodynamics. This is the, we can say, generalized coordinate, and Qj dot is generalized velocity. So here Qj dot is generalized velocity and J is running from 1 to n, where n is equal to 3n minus k. So n is degrees of freedom or number of generalized coordinate. So if a system is having one generalized coordinate, then we can say we have one Lagrange's equation. If system is having two generalized coordinate, then we have two equations. Okay, if system is having three generalized coordinate, okay, then we have three Lagrange's equation of motion. Now simple applications of Lagrange's equation of motion. So before that we are going to study advantages, and after that we can see simple application. Advantages of Lagrangian formulation over Newtonian mechanics. What are the advantages? So Lagrangian formulation and Newtonian formulation are parallel to each other. Means you can solve same problem by using Lagrangian formulation and same problem using Newtonian formulation. So, but using Newtonian formulation is quite difficult compared to Lagrangian formulation. Why? Because in Newtonian formulation, okay, first advantage is in Newtonian we need to know all the forces acting on the system. In Newtonian formulation we must know all the forces, okay, before applying Newton's laws of motion. What are the different forces which are acting on the system, that we have to know. But in case of Lagrangian, it is not necessary to know all the forces which are acting on the system. Okay, so this is the first advantage. Second advantage, we are dealing with forces which is vector quantity. Okay, so in Newtonian formulation we are dealing with vector quantities which are forces. Okay, but in Lagrangian we are dealing with scalars. Why? Because we know that Lagrangian is difference of kinetic energy and potential energy. Kinetic energy and potential energy both are scalar quantities. So we are dealing with scalar quantities, and dealing with scalars such as kinetic energy, potential energy in Lagrangian, which is quite easy compared to vectors. Okay, I am saying quite easy when we are dealing with scalars. So this is the second advantage. Now third advantage of Lagrangian formulation over Newtonian mechanics is that forces of constraint. Okay, in Newtonian mechanics or in Newtonian formulation, forces of constraint are always came into play. Okay, why? Because forces of constraints are reaction, okay, not reaction force, normal reaction force, tension force, all those forces we have to take into account in Newtonian formulation. But if we are doing calculations in Lagrangian formulation, then forces of constraint does not came into account. Okay, so this is the third advantage of Lagrangian formulation. Now we are moving to next point, which is applications. So simple applications of Lagrangian formulation. So first application is simple pendulum. So we are going to simplify Lagrangian and Lagrangian equation of motion for simple pendulum. We know that definition of simple pendulum is this: a bob which is having mass m, okay, it's hanged, okay, and length L. So first of all, we know that Lagrangian L is kinetic energy minus potential energy, but Lagrangian is function of Qj, Qj dot and time. Here Qj is generalized coordinate, Qj is generalized velocity and time. So we must know what is generalized coordinate for finding out Lagrangian. So this is function of generalized coordinate. Now, first of all, here we know that if you take origin over here, this as x-axis and this as y-axis, then this is the x position as Bob move like this, okay, and this is y position of that Bob. Then x position of that Bob is can be written as, if this angle is theta, so x position is L sine theta and y is this coordinate which is minus L cos theta. Okay, so x is equal to L sine theta, y is equal to L cos theta. Now if you take derivative x dot, so L is constant, derivative of sine theta is cos theta, and derivative of theta is theta dot, and if you take derivative of y, which is y dot, which is equal to L, okay, derivative of cos theta is sine theta multiplied by theta dot. Okay, again, what are the constraint equations? X square plus y square is equal to L square and z is equal to 0 for this Bob. As this Bob moves like this, z coordinate is 0 since this is x and y axis. Okay, it is moving in this plane, x and y plane. Z is equal to 0 represents that Bob is moving in this plane. Again, x square plus y square is equal to L square means this length is constant for this Bob. Now, with these two constant equation, we have one degree of freedom and one generalized coordinate, and that generalized coordinate is theta. Okay, because this generalized coordinate is present in both the equations. Now, we know that kinetic energy T is 1 half m x dot square plus y dot square. So kinetic energy is equal to 1 half m x dot is L square cos square theta theta dot square plus y dot square, which is L square sine square theta theta dot square. Now this kinetic energy becomes 1 half m. You can take L square theta dot square common in bracket. What remains? Cos square theta plus sine square theta, which is equal to 1. So this is the kinetic energy. Now potential energy. See, to find out potential energy, which is gravitational potential energy, you can take V means potential energy reference point 0 over here, or you can take V is equal to 0 over here. You can choose V equal to 0 over here, V equal to 0 over here. Since potential energy is a scalar quantity, so to measure scalar quantity, we must need some reference point. If we are choosing potential energy is equal to 0 over here, then what is the potential energy we can find out? So it is minus mgy. Okay, but y is what? L cos theta. Okay, so here potential energy is minus mg into L cos theta. So this is equation number 2. Now Lagrangian, L is t minus v, so 1 half m L square theta dot square minus potential energy is mgl into cos theta. So this minus minus becomes plus. So this is equation number 3 from equation 1 and 2. Okay, we can write Lagrangian is this. Now from this Lagrangian equation of motion. So what is that? D by dt of dabba L by dabba Qj dot minus dabba L by dabba Qj is equal to 0. Instead of Qj, generalized coordinate is theta. So we can write dabba L by dabba theta dot minus dabba L by dabba theta is equal to 0. Okay. Now, partial derivative of L with respect to theta dot. Call this as equation number 4. See, we have to differentiate this Lagrangian with respect to theta dot. So derivative of Lagrangian with respect to theta dot is what? M L square theta dot. If you differentiate this with respect to theta dot, da by L by da by theta. Now derivative of this with respect to theta is what? Minus mgl. Derivative of cos theta is minus sin theta. So put this in equation 4. So you will get Lagrange's equation as d by dt of da by L by da by theta dot, which is ml square theta dot, minus da by L by da by theta, minus minus plus mgl sin theta. This is equal to 0. If you take derivative of this term, so ml square is constant, derivative of theta dot is theta double dot, plus mgl sin theta is equal to 0. So you can take out m, okay, L square. If you divide it by L square, so that is g by L sin theta is equal to 0. Now for theta very small, okay, we can approximate sin theta to theta. Then equation becomes theta double dot plus g upon L. Instead of sin theta we can write theta, and this is equal to 0. So this is the differential equation of motion for simple pendulum. Okay, so that differential equation of motion we obtain by using Lagrangian formulation. Okay, so with this we stop our lecture over here. Okay, we will continue next applications in next lecture. Thank you.